Hey, it's Curious Beast. And in this video, I wanted to discuss an aspect of power that I felt if all of us were more aware of it, we might be more effective in our dealings with the current status quo. Now, before I get started on that, I wanted to briefly touch on the subject of politics. Now, the word politics, of course, has several different meanings, and everybody has their kind of own interpretation of it. Now, rather than get into that, I'm just going to share my view of politics. Now, as far as politics go, I don't see politics as being really about justice or making people's lives better or political ideologies or social agendas. Now, those can all be motives for going into politics or becoming involved in politics, but that isn't what is at the core of what politics is really about. Now, what politics is really about is power. It's about getting power, keeping power, or keeping someone else from getting power. Now, I realize a lot of people are going to say, well, that's pretty simplistic or perhaps even a bit cynical. And I can understand that. However, I did want to point out that this Constitution of the United States of America is about exactly what I was talking about. And the last part, or the last 10 amendments, I should say, what we call the Bill of Rights, is about that last thing that I was talking about, keeping other people from getting power. Now, the Bill of Rights is actually about keeping other people from getting power over what you say, what you write, what you read, what you draw or paint. It's about keeping other people from getting power over how you worship, where you worship, if you worship, when you worship. It's about keeping other people from getting power over your person, or your property, and a lot of other things as well. Now, going on the idea that politics is about power, one of the tricks to dealing effectively with power is knowing where power actually is. And it's not always where you think it is. And I'm going to give you a few examples of that. Now, the first example I'm going to use is something that probably a lot of us remember, and that is back when George W. Bush was president. Now, when President Bush was in office, people gave him credit for, or they blamed him for, a lot of different things. And some of those things are things that he actually did. But the person who's really calling the shots when George W. Bush was president was this guy, Dick Cheney. Now, today we kind of know that, but at the time, most of the attention was focused on George W. Bush. People either loved him or they hated him, But very little attention was focused on Dick Cheney. And he was the one that was pretty much running the show during the Bush presidency. Now I'll give you another more current example. And that example is President Barack Obama. Now, President Obama, it's kind of becoming clear, even to people on the left, that President Obama just really isn't that bright a guy. And now people will say, he's a great communicator. And he is, as long as he has a teleprompter in front of him. But if you've watched interviews with him or speeches that he's given where he doesn't have that teleprompter, he has kind of a rough time. He kind of goes and on a lot. He has a problem making complete sentences. He has trouble with words. In that way, he's actually pretty similar to George W. Bush. Now, the person who actually is calling the shots over at the Obama White House is, hang on just a second while I get a picture, is this person. And this person is Valerie Jarrett. Now, Valerie Jarrett has been the handler of Barack Obama for a very long time, way before he ever came to Washington. And this is the person who, like I said, is basically calling the shots over there. Now, if you want to get through to see President Obama, to share your opinions or your concerns about something, you have to go through Miss Jarrett. And if Miss Jarrett doesn't like you, you're not going to get him to see President Obama. And also, and even he says this, he confers with her on just about everything. And so basically, the person who's really calling the shots over at the Obama White House is Miss Jarrett. Now, a lot of us are concerned about FEMA, and there's some good reasons to be concerned about FEMA. Do you know who's in control of FEMA, or who runs FEMA? Well, officially, who's in charge of FEMA is a man by the name of Craig Fugate, Administrator Fugate. And you can see videos of Administrator Fugate here on YouTube, on the FEMA channel. Yep, FEMA has a channel on YouTube. Not a lot of people watch it, but it's there. And you can see videos of Administrator Fugate. Now, if you watch those videos, he's a likable enough guy. You know, he's kind of well-spoken and kind of friendly, and he's a little bit of a bumpkin, you know. But what the truth is he's not really the person that's in charge of FEMA. Not really. You see, the FEMA administrators come and go with the different administrations, but the people right under the chief administrator kind of last through the administrations. Now, the person that you really need to watch out for is a man by the name of Andrew Velasquez III, and he is the director of FEMA Region V. FEMA has the country divided up into 10 different regions. For instance, I live in FEMA Region VII. Well, Mr. Velasquez is the director of FEMA Region V. And FEMA Region V is based out of Chicago, the same place that Barack Obama and Valerie Jarrett come from. And just to show you a little picture here, all these pictures, by the way, are from U.S. government websites, so in case there's any kind of copyright concerns, and they're for public release. Now, this gentleman over here, oops, there he is. This guy here, this is Administrator Fugate. Okay, this guy, oops, here we go. This guy is Andrew Velasquez III, and like I said, he's the person that's basically calling the shots. Like when FEMA gets it in gear and opens up the camps, that's going to be the guy that you're going to need to watch out for. Okay. And it's kind of interesting. You can see Mr. Velasquez also on the FEMA channel. And another thing that's kind of interesting is that, like I said, FEMA has the country divided up into 10 different regions. And there's an administrator for each region. But Mr. Velasquez is the only person that you see on the FEMA channel that's an administrator of a region. None of the other administrators in the other regions are in any of the videos. Oh, and they bear watching too. I'm not just singling out Mr. Velasquez. Now, lastly, I wanted to touch on Bilderberg. And recently we had a bunch of coverage on that. Now, I got to be honest, I didn't see all of it because I already knew what Bilderberg was about, so it really wasn't all that important to me. And the coverage that I mainly watched was from Alex Jones. Now, if you go back and you look at the coverage, it covered about 4 main topics. Now, the first one was discussing the nefarious hidden agendas of Bilderberg. Okay, that's fine. The thing about that is that Bilderberg has been meeting since 1954. Now, I first found out about Bilderberg back in the mid-1970s, and got an idea of what Bilderberg is really about, and that hadn't changed too much. So Bilderberg and the agenda behind Bilderberg really is the news. Okay, the next thing is the coverage focused on the leaked documents from Bilderberg. Okay, well, those are documents from the 1960s, so that's not really news either. The next thing they focused on was, kind of contrived, in my opinion, events where protesters were dealing with the local police and stuff. Okay, well, that's fine. And then the other big topic was whether or not Mitt Romney was going to be there. Okay, well, that's fine. But one thing that the coverage I saw did not touch on were all the other people who were at Bilderberg. Now you have to remember, these are the movers and the shakers of the supposed, supposed New World Order. And so you'd think that it might be a good idea if we found out who these people were and who they were associated with and, things like that. But none of that really seemed to make it out there into the alternative media. And I'm a fan of the alternative media, so I'm not putting it down altogether. But I noticed there wasn't a lot of attention focused on all the other folks at Bilderberg. And my theory on that is that, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else, is that we tend to focus on the sock puppets, the figureheads, and the floor show. And in the meantime, there are all these other people that aren't getting any attention, and they're going around doing all the dirty deeds and all the horrible things that we think that they're doing. So I'm not going to read through this whole list because it's like 100 people or so, but I'm just going to touch on some of them. Now, some of these are people that you would know, but other of these people, it's like, I've never heard of these people or the companies that they work for or anything like that. So I'll just touch on a couple. Like, here's one. Roger C. Altman. He's the chairman of Evercore Partners. Ever heard of Evercore Partners? Know what they do? I don't either. Let's see. Here's some other ones. I found some good ones, but let's see. We have Nick Bowles, who's a member of Parliament in the UK. Mark J. Carney, Governor of the Bank of Canada. Let's see. I found one here that was really strange. I'd never heard of this thing before. Let's see. Or Ying Fu, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, I guess for China. And Niall Ferguson, now we know who he is. He's fairly well known. There's another one. This one surprised me, actually. One of the attendees this year was Britt Harris, and he is the Chief Information Officer for the Teachers Retirement System of Texas. Now you got to wonder, what is the Chief Information Officer of the retirement system, Teachers Retirement System of Texas doing there? Now, something interesting about that is about a year or so ago, the Teachers Retirement System of Texas made a lot of news because they divested a lot of their portfolio and they put it into gold bullion. A big batch of gold bullion. Here's another one. Alexander Karp. He's the CEO of Palantir Technologies. What do they do? Oh, and I found one that's really interesting. I don't know if I can find it again because, oh yeah, here it is Basma Kodmani. And he is a member of the Executive Bureau and head of Foreign Affairs for the Syrian National Council. Well, that's kind of interesting considering how much Syria's been in the news lately. Kind of makes you wonder, why was it Bilderberg? What's going on with that, huh? And then we have, let's see, Peter Loscher, President and CEO of Siemens. But Siemens is a fairly big company. Here's another one. Frank McKenna is the Deputy Chair of the TD Bank Group. Ever heard of them? I mean, we hear about JP Morgan and stuff like that, but who's the TD Bank Group? What do they do? A lot of people from Royal Dutch Shell. Peter Orszag, he used to work for Barack Obama. He's at Citigroup. Oh, this is this guy I was going to tell you about. Dimitri Papalexopoulos, who is the managing director of the Titan Cement Company. The cement company, Bilderberg. Fascinating. And let's see. Let's see if we just come up with one more interesting one. Oh, somebody from Goldman Sachs, Vodafone. A lot of folks from Royal Dutch Shell. Well, anyway, I'll have a link for the Bilderberg attendees. But my point in bringing up all these is that there's some people there that we focus on, like George Soros or David Rockefeller or Bill Clinton. But while we're focusing our attention on them, all the rest of those people are off doing whatever it is they do. And I think maybe what might be a little bit more effective in dealing with the status quo, as I said, is giving the lesser known ones a little bit more scrutiny. Because, as I said, one of the tricks to dealing with power is knowing where power actually is. And contrary to popular belief, Power usually does not sit on a throne. It sits behind it. Something to think about. Well, anyway, I hope to be doing some more videos on the subject of power. It's going to be kind of a learning experience for me. I mean, I certainly am no expert. Otherwise, I'd be living in a different place doing different things. And anyway, it's something I hope that all of us will enjoy or at least get something out of it. But until then, I wanted to thank you for watching, and I'm glad that you're here.